So you'll notice that each of these drops, especially when it breaks the 40, the 50, which is a pretty decently heavy average, you'll notice that it's been getting bought back since basically what 20, I believe this is 2025. All this entire rally, every dip towards this lower trend has been bought back, right? So this is what I back tested that 2% drop strategy on. And you'll notice within basically 3 to 4 sessions tops, it actually reverts back to the 50% mark on this trend in this channel, right? So 50% roughly right here. And you'll notice within maximum four, I would say, sessions, you basically have a reversion back up, right? And so that is what I was kind of expecting here. Although this drop is on pretty high volume and it did break this channel pretty heavily, but I want you guys to know that there's a lot of price inefficiency regions that were created on the drop down, right? You zoom out to a 1 hour, for example, you'll see all these inefficiencies, right? So this, for example, is an inefficiency right here, right? Likely price does try and retest this zone, right? So I'll give you an example of how this works, right? So I want you to notice this. Let me find a good example of to show you guys how this works. Yeah, for instance, right? Let's look at this inefficiency right here. Basically looking at this guy right here, right? Let's remove his EMAs. It's a bit too much. Okay, this inefficiency right here, right? Look at this gap over here. Do you notice how price actually stabilizes here? So this is like what we call a retest, right? So because this drop happened so quick, compared to the following candle's high and the previous candle's low, this is like an area where the market was not able to do a proper liquidity sweep, right? So there's a lot of liquidity left back here. So what happens is price tries to go and test that back. What you want to do is understand if price is going to reject this level, this level of inefficiency and go lower, or if it'll actually accept it and go higher, in which case it did over here, right? And you could tell because it kind of held on most major levels. But then look at this retest back down here, right? So this is an area where off the highs, you can actually mark where sell side liquidity sits, right? So this was where sell side liquidity was when this move up happened. And notice how price rejected the sell side liquidity, right? It grabbed the liquidity, did a sweep, and we had a full blown like fake out over here and we went lower. And then back to this zone, again, look how price moves sideways to basically try and fill that liquidity. Again, bounced up, rejected, and dropped hard, right? Now, on the way down is what I'm talking about, right? We have a couple of zones that have created inefficiency where at some point, I do believe the price will retest it. First one is right here. This is an inverted one. And then this one is the major one that I was looking at. But notice how price has not actually tested this at all yet, right? It's just gone lower. So the first pull up, I am betting that we're going to see 50% of this move retrace, which is roughly around over here somewhere at 664, right? Might happen in a couple of sessions, might happen in one session. But this is how basically the market works, right? It works off of liquidity regions, it works off of filling orders, and it works off of basically smart money moving in and moving out. So I'll go more in depth in this in another session on the weekends, but this is how basically sell side, buy side liquidity works. And this is what you want to keep an eye on. You want to keep an eye on when price rejects and sellers get exhausted, and we start seeing that turn back around. The first region that we're going to be testing is probably this one right here, right? A very small one though. And above that, these are the main key points. And this is the main region where the 50% retracement and reversion level lies at, which is what we've seen in each of these instances, right? If you were to take 50% of this trend, that sits right here. Notice how that is exactly what the test was initially and it broke above it and then it retested it. Same thing with this drop right here, right, guys? You see this drop, boom. This is way past 50%, but 50% is usually that sweet point pivot, right? So right here, this entire drop down, right from this level, 50% roughly around here. Look at that reversion back. And it's not even a joke. Like you can literally see price hindering and faltering over here at the 50% mark. This is where it falters. Why? Because there is resistance, but because as much liquidity can be filled, that much better for the market to move forward. That's what exactly happens, right? So that's something I'm expecting here on SPY at some point, especially with the deal still on. I think we can maybe see that happen this coming week.
TB, we got some questions about